Now, before we actually move on to the DOP network, I was almost forgetting that we actually need to have the target geometry to collide with, to have our smoke collide with that geometry. So let's take care of that. I'm going to show you how we can use the geometry that we have in order to actually generate a good collision geometry. So right now we have this, and this is kind of okay, but the problem is that we can't really generate a volume out of this. We have a lot of holes and open meshes, so that's really not gonna work. On the other hand, what we can do is we can generate kind of a proxy mesh of this and actually use that as a source for the collision. So let's see how we can generate that mesh. So the first thing I'm going to do is create a bound. I call this a wrap mesh. I don't know if it's something that's common or not, but I tend to call this a wrap mesh, and it's actually something that we need to use quite often in my experience. The next thing we do is we actually convert this wrap mesh, this bounding box, into VDB. VDB from polygons. So now we have kind of a very soft volume that we know envelops the whole geometry that we have, which is that one. And then we convert this back to actually geometry, convert VDB. To polygons. Okay. And the next step is going to be for us to use array. And we'll project using the minimum distance. If I hide the show guide and this, you can see we already have a really nice shape as a proxy, completely enclosed wrapping geometry. We had this object and now we have this. So this is already a good something that could work, but if you do a few more of these, you'll get an even better result. So the next step is going to be to kind of repeat these steps, where we now convert this into VDB from polygons, but at a smaller size. Let's say 0.025. Let's go with half. Convert back to VDB, and then we project the rays again. Okay, so again, we're getting closer to the shape. We can do it one more time. You can, of course, apply this inside a for each loop, generate an HDA. I actually have an HDA for this, but I don't really want to cover all that. So on this last one, I'm going to go all the way down to 0.02, and we should have enough detail. And on the last one, I'm actually not gonna project the rays again. I'm just gonna use this as our collision mesh. Of course, we also need to animate this. So I'm gonna grab this point deform and deform this instead. So that way we'll also have this rotating at the same speed. Finally, the quickest way for us to generate a collision out of this is you can actually type collision source, and this will generate everything you need for you. So I'm just gonna create a null. This is gonna be out collision geo, and we'll need the volume as well. It's gonna be this one. Okay, of course, we do need to have a bit more detail on the volume, 0.02, which is the value that we used on that last one. Collision VDB. And now we do have everything. We have our source, we have our collision geometry, and we're ready to move on to our dop network.